Welcome back, you guys. This one is going to be part two of Cross Country Move Zero Plans. Okay. So if you haven't seen part one, you do need to go back to watch that first because that tells you everything that led up to this part that we're about to discuss. Thank you for visiting my channel, which is Life Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry. Welcome back, my wisdom walkers. And for those that are new viewers, thank you for visiting. And that's it. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to talk about the final resolution to this whole cross country move. Excuse me for a second, because there were some challenging times. So, bottoms up, right? And don't know if I should, well, they were challenging because things are not always as they seem. Okay. Now, I can say that my friend who had invited me to come stay with her and her husband. That worked out perfectly. They have plenty of room. As I said, 7 bedroom, 6 bathroom home, huge, elegant, formal dining area, a game room that games and a pool table and everything else you can imagine. But it was a big, beautiful, majestic home in a very, um, secluded area or gated in area. So that worked out really well. And like I said, they kept their word. They told me that I did not have to pay rent or anything because, I still wasn't working. Although I came with cash for me. So remember, I'd sold everything and um, I had some savings and things like that. So it wasn't like, yeah. And my plan was this is me, okay? Some people are like, what? But I was just planning on being there for anywhere from 30 to 60 days, thinking that if that other place that I won't say lured me out because I was coming anyway, had negotiated with me by phone. If that didn't work out, then I still wanted to be able to have cash to buy a car. So wherever I would be working at, I would have a way to get back and forth to work. Well, when I say things got a bit challenging, the place that had asked me to, how soon I could come out and had given me a time and date for a interview changed that date and they pushed it further out. That's never a good sign, okay? I was like, oh hell. But what can you do, And so what they did is they had given me a call and they said that there were, they were getting lots of applicants and this was a new fund company, a very big national one. But you'll probably say, everywhere this lady works, she says it's nationally known. But those are the places that I go to. I go to places where there's upward mobility, where you can get trained and skilled, and they have benefits. Things like that. Not saying that a lot of other places don't, but with these major companies, you're pretty good to be set up for that kind of stuff. So they pushed that out, and I was thinking, now should I just look for, other places? Because you never know, okay? And then my friend who had asked, had told me I can come out and stay with her, she started to get worried, and she was like, I don't think those, because then they pushed it out another week, and she's like, I don't think they're going to hire you. We probably should just go anywhere, at this point and get a job. But that mentality of I just can get a job anywhere, then that means you want to take any salary and you'll take any hours and you get screwed. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that on this go round. So about that third week out, they called me in and asked about being able to come in for the interview. Of course, I could. I didn't have my transportation yet, but my friend had, she took me. So I went to the interview. Now the thing about this is, and I know this is like I've never had anyone do this before, especially for applicants for a job. But they had given me their um, address and everything, and then they gave us directions as to how to get there. And we followed those directions, but it didn't take us to the address that we should be at. And so my friend, who was familiar with the area because she lived here, she was like, "I think they gave us a wrong turn, to do." from the freeway. And I was like, no, they wouldn't do that. And she was like, maybe they did it accidentally. And I said, yeah, that's possible. But anyway, we got turned around and she got me to the place. And you guys know me, I'm Princess Prompt. So I left early anyway. So I had time for us to get turned around or get lost, and I can still be at the interview early. That's what I do. But so we did that. And the first person that they had me meet with someone just on one. And that person, came out and they had a little, what I thought was a smirk on their face. And they were like, oh, you made some really good time. And I said, yeah. And they said, how did those directions go? Right. And I was like, there was one area where they gave us a wrong turn. I said, but we were able to figure it out. This guy says they do that every once in a while just to see how resourceful some people are and to see if they'll still make it on time. Who the hell does that? I'm like, okay, what the hell? But but he said not only did you make it on time, you made it, early. So that's really a good sign. You passed test number one. I was like, I hate to see what test number two is going to be. But he told me that my interview was going to be up within the next 10 minutes or so, and it would actually be with a group of people. So, and they each would be asking different questions depending on what departments they're thinking about getting you into. So, I mean, like six people. I think I'd rather just have six interviews individual, but that no problem. So I get there, they take me to a room, and sure enough, there's a big table, and there's six people around the table, and they're looking at the resume, remember, that I had put online. They had printed it off, of course, and they were asking me, about different aspects of the different jobs that I had held over the years, which is fine. I get that. It makes sense. So I'm answering all of that, and they're kind of taking notes and checking things off. And then finally, they said, well, let us tell you about, the company and what it is that we do and what we are, the different departments that we have, to see if you may hear something that you may be interested in. So they went through all of that, and all of that was fine. And I was like, I mean, all of the things that they talked about I was capable of doing. It didn't matter to me what department it would be in or anything. I was more so in tune with where they needed the employees to be at. So we went through that, and then they said, well, Miss Brantley, what we would like to do is, make an offer to you. And remember, when I was back in, before I had moved to this state, they had talked about, what I was looking to have as a salary cap or salary range. And so, I mean, but that was fine. And so the one guy looked at some paper that he had, and he was like, we wanted to know if we can renegotiate that, unless you're talking making more. No, I'd say that, of course. So I said, renegotiate it, in what way? And what would be the reason for that? And before he could answer, someone else at the table said, well, it's just something that we do. Once we've interviewed people and everything, we want to get them closer to the fit that they should be at. And so he threw out, this other person threw out a salary range that wasn't anywhere what I had talked about in the other state. And remember, if you saw the first part one of this, I had already agreed at that bank at that other state that I was living in, that I would allow them to see the skills and experience and expertise that I could bring there, and then we could renegotiate. But see, once you do that, they're not looking to renegotiate with you later on. They're like, well, you agreed to this. So I was like, okay, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that again. And remember what I've said earlier. Things that happen to us in life happen because of one of three reasons. We either allow it, promote it, or create it. So we have to be able to, like I said, be willing to walk away from the table sometimes as well. And I had already planned on living in this state, so it didn't matter to me if I worked at this company or another company. I was like, I'm just not going to allow someone to renegotiate on the negotiation that we had already negotiated. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, or really, it is there. So they asked if I would be willing to have a decrease in the amount that they had already agreed to start me off on. And I said, no, I wasn't. And I didn't say it, in a mean way, like, no, heck no. But I was like, no, I talked to you guys on the phone. You emailed me documents. I signed those documents, this is what I was expecting. I said, but if it's not something that is congruent with what you guys would like to do, then I want to thank you for your time. You should have seen the looks on their faces. And I didn't get up or anything. I just still sat there like the ball is in your court. And this guy tapped on the desk a few times. And then one of the people in the room leaned over to another one and whispered in that person's ear. And then the guy who had was seated at the head of the table, he says, he looked at the resume, he looked at me, and he thought about everything that had just transpired. And he said, not to me, but to that group. He said, why are we playing this game? We already told her that we would agree to the salary she had asked about. He said her resume is impressive. She's carried herself in a way that gives me an indication that she is true to her word with what she knows and her skills and her expertise. And he said, let's just go ahead and make this offer. And so I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place to say anything. And then one of the other ones piped up and they said, she also um, was able to navigate through those directions that we gave her, and she was here before time. And he said, I'd already told her she passed that test. He said, so I don't have any argument with us sticking with that. So that's what they did. They said they would stick to and honor the word that they had given to me by phone and through email, and that they would love to have me join their organization and be a part of their team. So I was like, hmm, because I mean, it could have gone another way, right? But again, I was saying that when we deciding not to decide is a decision. And I had already waited, remember, because they had told me that the interview would be 1 week and then they pushed it off. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And I just didn't want to seem like a desperate somebody that would take anything, work any hours, do any task for any amount of money. So that one wound up working very good in my favor, very good, very well in my favor. But I have to tell you that, and any of you that watched any of my other videos, you'll know that even from my youth, I know to speak up for myself, try to negotiate in different environments and scenarios, and always pride myself on delivering on what I say I'm able to deliver on. Now, I have to tell you that one was one of the best jobs that I held. The company was awesome. Their benefits were outrageous, and their salaries and bonuses each year increased exponentially. Okay. So the question you are probably asking is, well, Heifer, why aren't you still there? Now, let me tell you what this company did, and it's not bad. So don't, well, it's not bad, but I will take another drink here. They were such a good company that they were thinking of opening up another building right next door to the one that they already were renting, to open up another whole wing of um, their business. But then we had the housing crash of 2000. It was either 2000, yeah, it was 2008 or 12. The whole thing that The Big Short is based on, where the housing markets just kind of imploded upon itself. People weren't able to pay their mortgages. 401ks were wiped out. The government decided to save, whoever they were going to save, and it wasn't the common man. Okay, it was the big businesses. And so that building that they were going to purchase, that fell through, of course. And they were actually looking to relocate to a less expensive city, well, less expensive state. So they were actually relocating. And one of the places, this company was such a major company that they had 5 different states that they operated in. And so they gave all of the employees the options to move to either any of those 5 states that they wanted to. But check this out. they not only gave you the option to decide which one you want to be in, they paid for you and your family to take a trip out there first to see if it was a place that you wanted to go to. They had contacts on the other end of those states that would show parents where the school system was and, what areas they would have for housing. And they these gave you a bonus if you did decide to stay with the company. So you would be able to see the place, to go visit the state with your family, make a decision, and they would pay a bonus on top of that. And I had remember wanted to always be in this state that I had moved to, and I just did not want to move to another state. I didn't want to be in any states that had natural disasters like snowstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, any of that stuff, earthquakes. I was like, no. So California was one of the states that they had offered for us. And at Summit, quite a few employees did take advantage of that option. Now, that in itself would be great, right? But let me tell you what else this company did. They gave us a 2 year, not 2 weeks, not 2 months, notice of their relocating. So they said if within that 2 year period you decided to return back to school to get your degree or to start one, they would pay for that, even though you weren't going to be an employee there anymore. So during that 2 years that they were still in this state, they would allow you to still take advantage of the benefits of going to school on their dime. So you can't beat that. Now, on top of that, this is what I'm saying, you guys. This was a great company. On top of that, for the employees who decided not to relocate, they actually had similar companies that did what they did come in to interview us to see if we could transfer to those companies as long as we waited until this company relocated. So they didn't want all the employees leaving, going to the new companies before they could, move. But they had people that would come in, interview you, and you could secure a job. So when they were gone, you wouldn't have a gap in your employment. So, like I said, that was a very, very good company. It treated its employees well. And I forgot to tell you this, they also had a restaurant in that building that did gourmet cooking for the employees. And our company paid 60% of your lunch and we paid 40%. And we're not talking about cheese and crackers or ham sandwiches. As I said, they were gourmet chefs and they had some delicious meals there. So it was a really good company. But like I said, I decided to stay where I was at. And I didn't want to elect to go to any of the companies that they were having interview us because there were a lot of employees that were doing that. And my thing is, when I leave a place or when I change something, I'm not looking to see the same faces and the same people and be in the same places that I was in before. And so I decided, I elected, I chose, made a decision to put my resume back out there and look for another job. And I wished all of my colleagues well and everything. And many of them did land in some of those other places. And like I said, quite a few people took the advantage of being able to relocate. So that's what worked out with that. And I should complete this whole thing about me having moved in with that friend. So I came in the month of October. I was there for November and the part of December. Well, let me say this. I got there in October on October 25th or something. So it's like a week before Halloween. And then sometime like the second week of November, this company had set up that interview for me and I'd gotten hired. And then December 23rd is when I was able to move into my own apartment. By that time, I had bought a car. Um, got an apartment, paid my first and last month rent and all that. I saved up for that. And I was happy as a lark. I was in my own place, new state, new job, making some damn good money, and just glad of what I had, just glad of, happy of what I was able to create for myself in my life. And I always try to remind people that, come on now, I'm no one special. All of us have the same opportunities, even though we may not see it as such, but we all are able to say yay or nay to whatever it is that we're looking at doing and to look at everything to see what would benefit us or our families or what route we would like to take. So please don't ever think that you're stuck in a rut or that you don't have a choice or you're not able to make your own decision because, quite frankly, if you don't decide, people will decide for you. And usually, when others are deciding, they're benefiting them, not you. So keep all of that in mind. As you guys know, I always say knowledge is in the knowing, but wisdom is in the doing. And yes, it did take some courage for me to, uproot and move and give the other place my resignation and let them know that I didn't think they were being fair to me. And ultimately make the decision to contact my friend, put my resume online, be willing and open to do all of that. And it turned out beautifully for me, but I certainly do not suggest that, especially in the times that we're in now. You need to have plans and have those plans solidly in place. Okay. So don't, when I see people talking about, I quit my job or leave your boss, I'm like, and do what? Because rent is going to be due the next month. So keep that in mind, or mortgage or whatever it is that you're doing. Remember also that the true learning of a lesson is the application of it. So moving forward, I knew that it would be in my best interest if I do plan on doing anything, which I'll be retiring next year. Yay! Drink to that. Hold on. I'm looking forward to what life would be like for me then, but not just what life would be like, but what I'm going to create in my life for myself at that time. So that's kind of interesting. And I'm just looking forward to it. So I've gotten myself on a bit of a health kick going to the gym and working out somewhat. And because you want to be healthy when you're retired as well, as we get in our golden years. Thank you, Wisdom Walkers, for coming back and visiting my channel. For those of you that are new, if you're so inclined, please subscribe and come back and visit me soon. This is Sherry. This is Life Lessons Learned. I'll see you on the next tape. Bye bye.